we're going to talk about Kant's deontological ethics. And deontic is just the Greek word for duty, so it's duty-based ethics. Now, one thing I will tell you, Kant really, even though he wrote 100 years before Mill and 100 years before the utilitarians, he rejects utilitarianism. So you'll see him rejecting happiness as the good. He doesn't think that's correct. Listen to those birds. But anyway, he has an alternative to basing what you should or should not do on happiness, and we'll see what that is. Although Kant wrote roughly 100 years before the utilitarians we have studied, he did criticize the very old view that morality is about happiness. Told you. To make his point, Kant asks us to look at the world as if it is designed for a purpose or a goal, a telos. Telos is the Greek word for goal or purpose, I guess. So here's Kant's telos argument. Premise 1. Assume the world is designed for a purpose or goal, a telos, that each human is meant to achieve. Premise 2. The purpose or goal for each human cannot be happiness because it is not within a person's own power to get happiness. Whether you are happy depends largely on accident, the circumstances and events of your life. Too much death, suffering, and misery often prevents people from achieving happiness. Premise 3. However, each person can improve their will, that is, their intentions, their character. You can become a better person. Each person can take an action to work toward achieving a good will or a good character. So, Kant's conclusion from all this is that the purpose of life is not to be happy, it's to become a better person. If the purpose of life is to be happy, the world sure got a funny way of showing it. No, but what is within your control is becoming a better person. Kant goes on to make the point that only a good will, that is, being a good person, is good without qualification. Virtue ethics accepted by the ancients, like Aristotle, and remember Aquinas sort of had something like virtue ethics going on. It's wrong to say that having moderation is the good, for a moderate, calm, cool, collected villain seems even more evil. I always think about Hannibal Lecter versus Mibbs in Silence of the Lambs. Mibbs was the one, he wasn't the lotion in the basket one, he was the one who was in the cell next to Hannibal Lecter. And he was just out of control and crazy, throwing bodily fluids around, slinging them everywhere. It was just nuts. Whereas Hannibal Lecter was calm, cool, and controlled his passions. But that didn't make him seem like a good person. He just seemed more evil. He was scarier because of that. Utilitarianism, really hedonism or pleasurism, is wrong to think happiness is the good. To prove this, Kant asks if you would want the happiness of a villain. I don't know if you've ever seen that reality show To Catch a Predator, but on that show you see these people who are morally villains. These predators are trying to seduce children. So they're child predators is what they are. And so the point is that you wouldn't will them or want them to have happiness, all things being equal. You don't want someone who's committed a great injustice or harm to others to have happiness. So happiness can't be good in itself. Neither can being calm, cool, and collected. There's only one thing that's good in itself. Kant claims that one thing is to have a good will or character. And having a goodwill or character involves acting for the sake of duty. In other words, to want to do one's moral duty for its own sake, not to acquire some goal or satisfy some inclination. So if you're acting out of duty, you want to be good for goodness sake, like the song about Santa says. You're not trying to do it to get something from someone else or to benefit in some way. He goes on to note that many actions performed in accordance with duty are not done for the sake of duty, and that actions that are not done for the sake of duty have no moral worth. It accords with duty that a grocer should not overcharge his inexperienced customer, and where there is much competition, a sensible shoekeeper refrains from so doing, and keeps to a fixed and general price. Thus people are served honestly. But this is not nearly enough to justify us in believing that the shopkeeper has acted in this way from duty or from principles of fair dealing. His interest required him to do so. I don't know if this is how you use that word or not, but sounds to me like Kant just broasted the grocer. He just pointed out that just because the grocer gives a little kid the right amount of change doesn't mean the grocer is acting from duty, because the grocer could be doing it just because he's afraid he'll get caught if he rips off kids who don't know any better. Their parents might figure out that too much money's missing.
However, we have confirmed some customers were charged 3, 4, even 7 times.
If you help someone fix a flat tire because you are attracted to them, or because you are a people person, or even because you feel sorry for them, your action lacks moral worth according to Kant. But if you wish you didn't have to help them but do it anyway, then your action is done from duty. So notice here we get a taste of that anti-happiness vibe as well. If you fix the flat for them because you want to make them happy, that's not the right motive. That's an inclination you have. You need to help them because it's the right thing to do good for goodness sake.
How much should I pay for this? This is like huge,
Hey,
man.
me? I accept love. I don't want no money from you, bro.
Let me just give you something, though. I gotta give you...
I don't want no money. If it's money, don't give it to me.
Imagine you've got a ticket to the new Fast and Furious movie, and you're really excited, and this is after COVID, we'll say, and you're driving to the movie, and you're going to be late if you don't just keep booking, and then you see a bloody child walking in the ditch who seems disoriented, and no one else is around. That's a perfect case, because you're not really going to want to get involved in that, but it's going to make you miss the movie probably, but if you do that, you're doing it to do the right thing, because you don't have much to gain, from a bloody child. Now, what are your duties? In order to know this, Kant provides us with what he calls the categorical imperative. An imperative is a command. A hypothetical imperative for Kant is a hypothetical means-ends analysis. If you want to stay out of jail, avoid stealing. But the categorical imperative is absolute. It does not say what you should do if you want X, Y, or Z, but simply what you should do, period. So you can use it to figure out what your duty is. There are two versions of the categorical imperative. The universal law formulation says act only in accordance with that maxim or rule, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law of nature, that is, that everyone should follow your policy. Kant was a Christian, and I think he was trying to do a rational version of Christian ethics, so that's kind of like do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. The second formulation of the categorical imperative is the humanity as ends formulation. Act so as to treat humanity whether in your own person or in that of any other, in every case as an end, never as a mere means. That's like this other idea that's in the Bible. Jesus says it, love your neighbor as much as yourself. And we'll talk about what those mean. I think actually they show up in the next video, but at least that exposes you to them, huh? Now, when you listen to the actual Kant reading, or read it and follow along with the LibriVox recording, you may hear Kant talking about 4 specific examples of duties that we have. Here are just 4 duties. He claims he just picked them at random, but each of these, he believes, follows from the categorical imperative. Avoid suicide or self-damage, keep your promises, develop your talents, and help other people through charity or aid of some sort.